Here's an eerie little mystery. This local park just might be the last resting place of a man murdered in the mid-1800s. Just a few minutes drive south of Portland, Oregon, lies the small city of Tualatin. There is a local recreation area called Browns Ferry Park, and it shares a link to a cold case where a doctor had allegedly murdered his patient. In 1850, a man by the name of Zenas J. Brown had sailed up here to Oregon country to lay his claim to 640 acres of land on both sides of the Tualatin River. He was quite an intelligent fellow and knew that traveling settlers who followed the Oregon Trail would be heading through this way towards the Columbia River and would need safe passage across the Tualatin River. So he established a ferry business. It was nothing more than a flat barge, much like this one, and it carried passengers, livestock, and the wagons they pulled. His business endeavors didn't stop there either. He also set up a medical practice in the nearby Oregon City, calling himself Dr. Brown. Although, it must be said that he had no formal training in medicine. You see, at the time, medicine was an unregulated practice, and so there was nothing stopping him from opening up shop. In addition to selling various elixirs for treatments, his shop became a mercantile of sorts, offering trinkets, lemon syrup, bitters, ciders, cordials, and even sarsaparilla beer. Brown later married Esther Mosier and built a home on his property in Tualatin. Yes, everything was going well for Zenas Brown. He was living a settler's dream, or at least the best that one could hope for. But that is when things took a turn. A young man by the name of Isaac Warwick had purchased land from Brown, but could not pay for it. Either Warwick didn't have the money, or he simply refused to give it. I cannot say which. The two men were locked in a bitter disagreement over the ownership of the property, and soon after, Isaac fell seriously ill. Dr. Brown, being the good Samaritan that he was, offered to take him in and treat him. For a while, Warwick remained at Brown's residence, but never seemed to recover from his mysterious ailment, and this made the community uneasy. They began to question the kinds of treatments that Brown was dosing out to the young man. Apparently, Warwick had even told some of the visiting locals that Brown would not let him leave. Witnesses say that he appeared filthy, malnourished, and riddled with lice. He complained of a liver problem, and he had developed a boil. The alarming state in which he appeared had set the locals on edge. Something odd was happening, and the health of the young man only continued to deteriorate. Isaac Warwick died in 1855. It can only be presumed he was buried somewhere on Brown's expansive forested property, because he was never laid to rest at the local cemetery. And what's even stranger is that Dr. Brown petitioned the court to allow him to administer Warwick's will himself. He was denied. A year later, Brown was indicted for murder. Everyone in the town suspected him of foul play. It made so much sense. A healthy young man purchases land and doesn't pay for it. A disagreement soon follows, and the boy suddenly falls ill. The very man he owes money to graciously offers to treat him, only for Warwick to die on his watch. Perhaps there was more to the backstory than that, but we'll probably never know. With a lack of evidence, the Territorial Circuit Court acquitted Brown of all charges, and he was allowed to return home. He didn't stay for long. The locals were very suspicious of him and the circumstances surrounding the death of his patient. He sold off his land and businesses, then moved down to Salem for a short while before heading off to Florida. And that is the last we hear of Dr. Zenas Brown. The 640 acres of property he owned were later cleared to make way for farms, and the ferry business was rendered obsolete by a much more successful ferry business just upriver. The land was carved out and sold off piece by piece, and the story of Dr. Brown has been forgotten with time. All that remains of his original property is a small community park along the edge of Tualatin River, where his ferry business once stood. The park was created in 1997 and is used for its paved walking paths, winding river trails, kayak rentals, and each summer, a small art camp is set up on the main lawn. No one ever found the burial site of young Isaac Warwick. Perhaps he was taken into the thicket and buried amongst the poison oak. Or maybe he was dispensed into the pond, or the river itself. We may never know. It's unsettling to think that he may be buried somewhere on the expansive grounds of the community park. He has been long forgotten, and no one repeats his story. The last it was mentioned was 12 years ago in a local newspaper. When you walk through the park today, you can become quite distracted by its natural beauty. But as you adventure through the empty trails on your own, you start to get the feeling you aren't alone. There is a strange sensation of your every move being watched. Perhaps it's young Isaac Warwick hoping to lead you to his burial site, to finally acknowledge and solve the mystery of his death, to definitively answer the burning question: did Dr. Brown murder his patient? Thank you for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like and comment below. For more stories on the architecture, engineering, and history of the Steam Age, make sure to subscribe. You can support me by either becoming a Patreon member or channel member, or you can help donate to my transatlantic voyage to the UK. Links and information are in the description below. Thanks again, and I'll see you all next time.